Hey everyone, I'm super excited that you've made it back to my channel, Kelly Rene Every Day, where I'm here to teach you the fundamentals of crochet. Now we're in our 5th session on crocheting our first washcloth. Up to this point, we've looked at the slip knot, the chain, the single and double crochets. We've put it together and now we're ready to finish it off and have our final product. So let's get into it. Okay, here we are on the very last video in this series to create this cotton washcloth using crochet stitches, specifically the single and the double crochet. So just kind of reviewing our process, first and foremost, we chained 28 along our first row, if you would, to set the width of our work. We then created our first official row of stitches back that were single crochet. And then we alternated double, single, and so on all the way up until we got to the size of the washcloth that we wanted. Now, the size of my washcloth is about 8.5 inches wide, and the number of rows that I worked was 21, including the very last single crochet row, and it's about by 1. Now, I could have added another row if I wanted to, and you certainly may, but this is a good size for me. I'm kind of looking at it, it fits my hand, and I think it's going to work well. So I have my very last single crochet row here done, almost to the very end. And what we're going to do in this video is we are going to fasten off our end and then weave in the two that are here, and then cut off any tails that we have. So I'm going to grab a little bit of length off of my ball here, and I'm going to insert my hook into my loop, and I'm going to work the last couple single crochets here on my work. So I've got my single crochet, I'm going to insert my hook, pull up and pull through 2 loops, and then I've got my very last single crochet here that I'm going to do on my washcloth. There it is. Okay, so that's the very last one. Now, I'm confident as that being my last one, and I'm going to have 27 going all the way across here for my last ones. Now, if you ended up with something that was either trapezoid looking, either getting smaller as you went or larger, that means that you weren't getting enough stitches. And a lot of times, as I mentioned earlier, it's either you're starting with, in too far, or you're ending too soon. And that's why counting your stitches is important, because you can ensure then that you have the same number of stitches going up to be sure that your work remains in a rectangle or a square. So now that we have our last stitch at the end here, we're not going to add a chain to go to the next row because we're done. So all we're going to do is we're going to go to the end here, and I am just going to cut off with my scissors kind of a length here. All right. And to fasten this off, we say, is we're going to pull in that section, and we're just going to pull it all the way through, That's it. Okay. And then I'm going to kind of fasten it down tight, and that creates a little knot at the very end. Okay. Now you could, well, it's not a good idea, but you could, if you tighten that down, fasten it down tight enough, you could cut it off here. But the problem with that is over time, it probably will work itself loose, and then this will start unraveling, and we don't want that to happen. So what we're going to do is we're going to weave these ends in using our darning or our yarn needle. Now, a darning or a yarn needle just needs to have an eye that's large enough in order to fit our yarn into. Okay, so now that I have my hook off and I've got this cut loose, I'm going to start at this one, and really we're going to do the same process for the end tail and the beginning tail. So I'm going to get this into my needle. There we go. And then get it in. Okay. And then pull it through, making sure not to split the yarn. Okay, there we go. So I've got this in here. And all I'm going to do is, too long of a tail here underneath, I'm just going to weave it right in. And it becomes really easy to do this. And we just go back and forth. I start usually along the top, okay? And I'll pull it through, and it's just kind of like sewing, if you would, but it's truly just weaving it in and out. Oh, come on. There we go. Pull it through, and you kind of flatten those out. And then I go down a little bit into the stitches just so that it, again, so that it lessens the chance of it actually weaving out. So once I pull it down into there, that's when I kind of cut it off real close to the surface, and now I've got that end weaved in, and you don't even notice that which side it came off of. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to do the very same thing for where I started my work on that slip stitch, and I am going to actually cut this off a little bit shorter so I have a little bit nicer edge to get into my needle. I'm going to push that in. Sometimes wetting it a little bit helps, just like when you thread a needle with thread instead of yarn. Now, I don't know why it's giving me fits right now. It's usually pretty super simple, but you get the idea. Okay, so I'm pulling that through, and then I'm just going to go to my work and just kind of weave in and out here at the top, and then we'll pull it down through. And again, it's just guiding it through so that we can, you know, make it look almost invisible, if you would, so that we lessen the chance of it unraveling on us. Okay, there we go. And I'll just go a little bit further here, and then we should be good. And then I'm going to pull this guy through and cut it off. Okay, so now you'll notice that I have my ends weaved in. I have a final washcloth, and you'll notice I have a little bit of yarn left here. There's not much, but what I started with was a full ball of yarn. Now, when we get the cotton yarn from Sugar and Cream in the solid colors, like solid yellow, solid gray, whatever it might be, they provide us with, let me see here, where's that length? Here it is. They provide us with 120 yards or 2.5 ounces of yarn. Now, if I end up getting it in a multicolor like this ends up being 2 ounces instead of 2.5, and it's only 95 yards instead of 120. So out of the solid colors, I can get 2 full-size washcloths, okay? So for instance, these are about $3 a ball. I can get 2 washcloths, $1.50 each about, and then I have a little bit left over yet. When I have the multicolor, it might be pretty close and you might not get a full 2 out of there. So I just want you to be aware that even though the balls look very similar in size, the amounts are different, okay? And the solid colors will always have more on it, which will ensure that you can get at least 2 this size washcloth out of them. But when we have the multicolors, it might change a little bit. So I guess that's it. So congratulations, you have completed your very first washcloth. And what you've accomplished is you have created and you have done and established the skills for the fundamental stitches in crochet, being the slip knot, the chain stitch, the single, and the double crochet. Okay, so like I've been telling you, if you're liking what you're seeing here, please give me a thumbs up on this video. Additionally, I would love it if you would subscribe to my community here. And that's all that I have. I look forward to you on some other projects that we have here at Kelly Rene every day.